Hi, this is Chris Pells. In this video we're going to learn how to do CSS-based page layout with div elements. In recent years, most people have used HTML tables to create layout on their web pages. And in fact, probably the majority of the sites on the web still use tables as their major basis for doing their page layout. However, more and more sites are using div elements in conjunction with cascading style sheets to do their page layout because that approach offers several advantages. The first thing is that typically a div-based page layout has considerably less HTML that has to be sent down to the browser. So it's a leaner page, and that has an impact on performance. A second, somewhat less obvious advantage is that when you use div elements, you can position the content in your HTML so that it is sent down to the browser and displayed first. A lot of times HTML tables have quite a bit of HTML markup before it actually gets to sending the content aspect of the page down to the user. And displaying the content first has been shown to have a distinct advantage on the perception of the user towards the website, because they like to see the content first and not have to sit there and see graphics or navigation or whatever and then wait for the content. The third advantage is that by using cascading style sheets in conjunction with div elements, there is a reasonable degree of separation between the structured aspect of the page layout, which is the div element in the HTML, and the cascading style sheet, which represents the design. So let's take a look at a standard table-based page layout, and then we'll go on and do a number of div-based cascading style sheet layouts to show you how they compare and some of the basic principles so you can implement them on your own websites. So let's go ahead and create a website here in our empty solution that we'll use to create a number of test pages to demonstrate the principles. And let's just call this website VB. And let's create our first page here where we'll do a table-based layout. And let's call this page layout table. So let's create a simple layout here using tables, and what we want to achieve is a left-hand navigation column, and then the rest of the page on the right side will be the main content area. So let's create a table here, and we'll give it a width equal to 20%, and this will be our left-hand navigation column, and height, let's give that 100%. And inside here let's put one row, and in there we'll put one column, and just put a little text in here so we can see it when we run the page for the navigation links. And let's just make this cell to vertical alignment to the top. Let me just format that HTML a little bit so it's a little more readable for you. So that's our left-hand navigation column. Let's just use this as a basis for our right-hand content column. And the right-hand one will make 80% of the page. We'll keep one cell in here, and we'll just change the text so we can see it. So we'll call this one content. And just to make things a little more obvious, let me add a style in here where we set the background color of the content column to blue, and we'll take that style, put it up here in the navigation, but we'll give the navigation a yellow. Okay, there we go, good. And the last thing we want to do here is to take our content table and let's align that to the right. And the last thing we're going to do is just get rid of our div element container here that came into the page by default. Let's just reformat. And one more thing here, let's put in alignment equal to left. Okay, let's just run this page and take a look at what it looks like. And as you might expect, we have our navigation column on the left and the content column on the right. We could go further here and we could take this right-hand content column and put a nested table in here to have, say, 3 columns of content, etc. So that's a basic table-based approach to page layout, which I think many of you are familiar with. Now let's go on and do the div approach and see how we do that. So let's go ahead and create a second page where we'll do our first div layout sample. And let's call this div layout 1, because we'll be creating several of these. So now let's go down and add several divs to the page here. And the divs will become our major containers for areas of the page, much like the cells of a table. So let's make this first one have an ID of header. And you'll see why we're doing the IDs in just a moment. Let's copy that, and we're going to create 3 more divs here. And the next one, let's call this left column. Make the next one content, and we'll make the last one the footer. Now let's just add a little text in each of these so when it's displayed we can recognize that section. So we'll just put footer, content, left, column, and header. So let's just run this and see what it looks like. As you might expect, they're in a flow layout, so we're getting them sequentially down the page. So now let's go back, and what we need to do is add some style information to cause each of these divs to position on the page as we would like them. Now, a good practice is to create a separate cascading style sheet and link to it from the page. So we're going to do that. And we'll go over here and we'll add a new item, a cascading style sheet, and we'll call this div layout1.css, just so the name matches the page. When you get the sample source code, it'll be easy to figure out. And in here, let's create a style element for each of those divs. So we have header, we have left column, we have content, and we have footer. Now we're using the pound sign as the prefix for the name of our style here, such as in pound sign footer, because these are what are called element IDs, and element IDs refer to the ID value, or rather the value of the ID attribute on the element. And as you recall, over here in our page we gave the IDs of header, left column, content, and footer, and so that's why we're naming these cascading style elements accordingly. One important thing to consider when you're naming things is that element IDs are for elements that only occur once on a page. If you have multiple occurrences of a particular style, then you need to make it a class by using the dot prefix rather than the pound sign. So let's add some attributes to these styles, and the first one, let's just add a color of 0F0. Then let's go to a position, and we'll make this absolute. And let's specify the top of this as 0 pixels, the left as 0 pixels, a width of 800 pixels, and a height of 100.